Okay, first up in this new season of the Long Distance Lounge is a young guy I've just got to know in the last couple of years, Tommy Roark. He is a talented 27-year-old visual storyteller who's already built quite a name for himself doing shoots for the likes of Versace, Aston Martin, Blue Hawaiian Helicopters, Billabong, and even travel partners in amusement parks like Legoland, which some of you probably dragged your kids to. He has also spent his summer shooting music festivals like Coachella, and that is what I really want to ask him about, the behind the scenes of these big music festivals, DJ sets, etc. He does a lot of chronicling the EDM scene, so he's got some stories. Tommy is also a co-founder of Experience Media Studios, but I'll let him tell you the rest. Let's get started. All right, Tommy Roark, welcome. Welcome into the Long Distance Lounge. First of all, I have to ask you, what are you having to drink at the Long Distance Lounge? It's early in the morning, so I might judge you depending on what's in that glass.
Tim, thanks for having me. I got a pretty standard cold brew. Usually I go black cold brew.
Okay.
Today I'm at my mom's house visiting my family on the East Coast for the weekend, and she was like, "Oh, put some cream in there." And I'm not a cream guy, but I felt like she would have taken it a little personal if I said no. So we put some cream in. So we got cold brew with some cream.
All right. Keep your staff happy. Keep your mother happy. That's important. I just have a tea. It's pretty early in the morning for a late night creative guy like yourself. So I would have judged you if you were drinking anything alcoholic.
It's a lot of people.
We would have been having a different conversation.
Are you okay? Really?
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of people are tea people now. Like a lot of my friends, they're like, they switched to tea. And I like tea, don't get me wrong, but is there a reason are you a tea drinker over coffee, or is it just
I will probably turn off listeners. I've never had a full cup of coffee in my life. I just don't like the taste of it. And that's the sound of people getting mad, because coffee drinkers get really offended by that, actually. Your visuals by Tommy, that's you on social media. You are a super creative guy, really talented guy, and that's why I wanted to talk to you.
Thank you.
We met through your uncle, Kevin, who I know a little bit from some work long time ago that I did. He's a successful, let's say, business builder, entrepreneur. I don't want to offend him what his title would be, but he's a smart guy. So you guys started a company together, right?
Yeah, I like to say Kevin knows a little bit about everything. He's the first person I call, whether I got a question about fixing something on my car or a question on my taxes or anything in between.
Okay.
Yeah, Kevin's my mom's brother. He's been a huge father figure and business mentor in my life. And, just someone I turn to when I have questions about career. And, it was a couple of years ago. He's worked pretty heavily in the travel and tourism space most of his life. And I was working in the creative space, and I love to travel. And, my whole goal when I picked up the camera was to kind of get to see the world. And he was like, well, I know there's a huge need for services and skills like yours in this industry. Let me see if I can connect you with just some people in my network. And he started helping me get some of my largest clients at the time, just as like a favor, and then we legitimatized our business and we launched our agency together, Experience Media Studios, about 2 years ago. And have just kind of built together from there with him running, the operations, let's say, side of the business, and myself running the creative.
Yeah. So, but you do a lot of different stuff from a creative standpoint.
I do.
I want to back up just a bit. So, grew up in the East Coast where you are now in Connecticut, I think, UNH, University of New Hampshire, and but not really a creative sort of major arts guy, like not design, not photography. You were going for kind of business marketing. What?
Yeah, great
how'd that
memory,
all play
man.
out?
Marketing. I like to tell people I have no idea how I kind of fell into this, and I'm really grateful I did, because it was what I always kind of wanted to do. So went to University of New Hampshire, was in the business college there, got a marketing degree. But a couple things happened when I graduated. It was a mixture of things. I graduated the spring the pandemic started, so it was a really interesting time to enter the work world. So I had some corporate marketing, the typical, what I like to say, the typical New England kid path is you grow up in New England, I wanted to go to the University of Colorado in Boulder. My mom was like, you will flunk out. You're going somewhere where I can at least physically drive to pick you up when that inevitably happens.
Right.
I made it through, but she kind of encouraged me to stay close. And I feel like most kids that grow up in New England, you grow up in New England, go to New England college, and then you may get a corporate job or a startup job, but you move to Boston or New York and you work in that 9 to 5 space. And when the pandemic happened, all of my marketing offers for different types of companies, whether in Boston, New York, or wherever, they got rescinded. And
Okay.
so I was home doing nothing. I was working at a country club. I was a bag boy. I was cleaning clubs.
Okay.
And around the middle of college is when I bought my first camera. And Kevin actually helped me buy my first drone. And it were just fun little tools. I like to make cool stuff. I just was like, wow,
Yeah.
you can take some really cool photos and stuff like that. And from there, I met this guy at ESPN, this guy, Rob King, who's done a lot of amazing things in his career. He was one of the producers or executive producers of The Last Dance, the Michael Jordan doc
Oh
that
yeah.
won a
Yep.
bunch of
Yep.
awards for ESPN. And he was a member of the club. He was a really nice guy. And one day I just went up to him and said, "Hey, Mr. King, you know me as the guy that cleans your clubs, but actually, I'm really interested and I'm starting to get started in the creative world. I would be curious, would you ever be willing to chat with me?" And he kind
Hmm.
of had like a casual call with me, and we just talked for maybe an hour or so. And he said, "Go out and get as much experience as you can." And
Yep.
so I realized then, during the middle of the pandemic with, uh, let's move to California and figure it
Right.
out. And
Right.
so that's what I
Okay.
did. Yeah.
Right. So I guess it's in a way there's no other options, and so you do what you want to do, right? Just start learning. How about
Yeah.
that learning though? Because I was talking to someone else the other day about this. That people think like I can look at your stuff,
Hmm.
and I've had other friends. I've referred your Instagram to them who are
Yeah.
producers and filmmakers and stuff, and they're like, "Well, he's talented."
Ah, thank
But
you.
yeah, you're welcome. But it's true. But it's not all talent. Like you have specifically, like I've been on shoots with
Yeah.
people, the equipment, everything takes so much time. So I think you have to have a bit of a mindset too, like patience. You have to like to learn. Like I've dabbled with that stuff, but you realize how time consuming it is to get to the point where you are. So what was that process like?
I didn't even own a camera until I was 20. I
Okay.
didn't, and when I first bought a camera and drone, I started with a Sony A6000 and I just shot in auto and I didn't know what I was doing. And same with the drone, same sort of thing, the most basic settings. Um, and at that time, I felt that I was fortunate to have been young enough, but also old enough at the same time to be on Instagram during those early days of what I like to call like travel influencer creators.
Mm-hmm.
There
Yep.
was these guys out there, and they're still around, but they were probably a lot younger at this time. This would be like 2016. I was finishing up high school, going to college, and so I was following these guys. Some familiar names would be like Matt Como or Jay Alvarez or Sam Calder, and there were just these
Okay.
guys that looked to be getting to travel the world for free or getting paid
Mm-hmm.
for it, and they just got to
Right.
create beautiful content with their equipment. And I was like, I want to do that. And when I started, uh, I sucked. And I still suck. It's always a learning curve. It's always improvement.
Yeah.
And like the grand
That's a
scheme of
familiar
things,
story though. Everyone has that story.
it's
Yeah.
yeah, and I accept that. But at the time, like I look back at the first video I ever made. I went on like a study abroad program to Barcelona and got to explore Europe with a lot of friends.
Mm-hmm.
And I shot everything in auto. I knew nothing about settings or lighting or how to do anything like that. But I was just trying to capture those moments on my first, real camera.
Yep.
And, at that time when I put together that first video, it was my favorite thing I ever made. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And a lot of people just gave
Mm-hmm.
really positive feedback because I didn't really know
Yep.
anyone that was doing creative work like that. And so people were pretty kind. My
Yeah.
friends like to call it I made like a creative account. My friends originally like to call it like my Finsta, like my fake Insta. And they were just like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, this is where you
Right.
just post dumb stuff. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, it was kind of, I'm not a very serious person. So we joke around about it, but I was like, just wait guys. Like eventually you'll see the vision here. Like I'm going to learn how to take this hobby and this little thing of
Yeah.
mine and make a career out of it.
And do you feel
And
like you have like Do you feel like you have like a natural, people talk about a natural eye? I mean, you develop the skills, of course, like because
Yeah.
you shoot still photography and you
Yeah.
shoot video. Did you have mentors to learn from early on? And how much of it is natural and how much is
Yeah.
learned?
It's a good question. I think there are different types of um, minds and ways that people's brains work in general, but also in call it photography or in filmmaking. I think some people have a very technical brain, almost like that
Mhm.
engineer type brain where they know their camera, their settings, their every little function inside and out. And it's more of like
Yeah.
those people are more of like the math and science people, and they know the exact numbers to put their settings at and blah blah blah. And then I think there's the people like me who's terrible at math, that I just trust my eye. And I may not always have the best eye, but I trust my eye because it's what I know, and I'm not a technical thinker. I know what I need to know on the technical side, but I learn new things about my camera all the time from my more
Mhm.
technical minded friends. Like, oh, do you know about this? And I'm like, no, show me. But I feel like I've made the most of my career so far just trusting my eye.
Mhm.
And it's weird because I wouldn't even say I was born with it. I didn't grow up like super creative, at least that I felt like. I just felt like a normal person. And
Yeah.
when in the beginning, when I first started out, it was really hard. Like it was hard to find inspiration and kind of find that eye. I felt like I was
Yeah.
struggling to figure out how I wanted things to look. And
Right.
I
Because
definitely
you want
just
your own look in a way too, right? You're not like, oh, I'm going to create my own look. You just want stuff to look
right.
viewable at the beginning, right? So that
Yeah,
people with an
absolutely.
educated eye will take it and use it. Because that's the
Absolutely.
thing is that the everyday layperson is looking at it, can't see always the difference between the high quality stuff that someone like you does and then, just stuff that they do in a way like it looks
Yeah.
cool or and especially today, I guess, because things are digested so quickly. But if you
Yeah.
want to get hired professionally, the people making those judgment calls do know the difference, right?
I think it's a mixture of having the right equipment and
Yeah.
then just kind of knowing um, how to properly use it. I think for me, like I said, I started shooting off in auto. I had to learn what all those functions within my camera could do. I had to learn everything from the shutter, the aperture, the ISO. Because when I first started, I was like, oh, I don't know, I'm gonna let the computer do that for me. But I realized you don't really
Mhm.
unlock your camera until you get off of auto and
Right.
start using
Okay.
it. Putting it on auto is like playing on, say, beginner mode, right? Or doing the tutorial of something, you know what I mean? And
Hmm.
then once you can fully understand how the camera works, uh, just your ability unlocks a lot. And then from there, that's when I noticed the biggest jump in my quality of work. And then I felt like anything that I wanted to put on a real portfolio came from there. And once I felt like I could just have more educated conversations with maybe someone that's hiring for these roles or stuff like that on like exactly how I would shoot certain things, there's just kind of more respect that was given to me. If they were like, hey, how would we want this we want there to be like motion blur on this car driving by. Like, do you know how to do that? And on auto, I'd be like, you can't do that. And in the beginning, I would have
Hmm.
no idea. But once I could just speak to like, oh yeah, and I could almost like educate people on how I do things, I think there's kind of this trust that, okay, this guy knows what he's doing.
Right.
And I feel like once I reached a level of learning um, of just how the camera works, uh, once I was proficient enough, I feel like that's when the creative eye started to flourish and people started
Yeah.
to trust it more.
And do you take ever any, say, classes? Or I guess that's a question I have. And I know
Yeah.
people will listen to this, people who follow you who want to be good at this stuff or they're a student. How would you recommend they spend time improving if they want to get accomplished at shooting? Is it
Yeah.
classes? I'm a pretty bad guitar player. I've had a
Yeah.
guitar for, since college, but
Yeah.
just like cowboy chords, as they say. And I have friends who are
Mm,
really good at it, put out an album, etc. And he said,
right.
just put the thing in your hands, put the guitar in your hands and play. But there's also something to knowing all the basics when it comes to that stuff, the scales, the notes, everything. So are you someone who ascribes to like, yeah, take some classes to learn the basics or get
Yeah,
out, make mistakes, shoot stuff that you're never going to use and then that you feel like you've wasted time? What's the strategy?
I think it's a balance of both. In high school, I randomly took a very basic video production class, and I got to learn the editing software Final Cut Pro,
Yep.
which is still a lot of what I use today. It was cool
Hmm.
to learn something at such a young age that still uh, holds its own in the professional world.
Yep.
I feel like a lot of the classes people take in high school are pretty useless, but that class actually way more. I took that class because it was supposed to be easy and fun. That
Yeah.
class, I guess, more than just about anything in high school at this point, has helped me more in my career. Because then when I got to a point where I was doing this for work, I was like, okay, I got an editing software. What do I get? I'm like, oh, I know Final Cut Pro. So I stuck with that, but I I feel like that class helped me a lot, but without knowing it. And then once I wanted
Hmm.
to more intentionally learn on how to do things, YouTube has everything.
Yeah, it does.
You
It's
can learn
wild.
anything on YouTube. When I got my first camera, I just Google like what are the best settings to shoot in. If I want to get good results, and I just you get everyone's different takes on it. And then a big thing I decided to get early on, which a lot of people don't do until they're getting a lot of more paid professional work, is a Part 107 FAA drone license. And that is
Okay.
what allowed me to legally get commercial work in the space. A Part 107 was, it's an FAA license. It's a pilot's license. It's a cool thing
Mhm.
to pull out at the bar and say, oh, I'm actually a pilot, and unless they
Yeah,
read
yeah,
the very,
yeah,
very fine
for sure.
print, they
Right,
realize that, okay, buddy, you fly drones or the
right.
controller. You're not actually getting the cockpit. But that test essentially was, at least in my opinion, right? Some people might think it's easy. I thought that was one of the hardest tests I ever took. It felt like a pilot's test without having to get in the cockpit and actually physically
Right.
fly the plane. But all the things I had to study and learn, it
Yeah.
was, we're talking, okay, it's 60,000 feet in a Class B airspace. I'm like, okay, my drone can't even go that high. When
Right.
you're landing at an airport at sea level with, I'm like, I can't fly near airports, right? But I had to get it. I had to get that to just kind of show like, hey, you're not an idiot and you're not going to hurt anybody with your drone if we hire you for this
Yeah.
job. So really, besides studying, I took like an online class to prep course for that. Beyond that, I mainly just used YouTube, and I had some mentors that I would just kind of ask. I was lucky to have, because when I first got into it, I didn't know anyone from college, and I didn't really know anyone from where I grew up that was doing this. But
Yeah.
through the power of social media, I just met some guys that were mainly all from New England, and made the time to just kind of talk with me. And I'd ask them a lot of questions, but um, yeah, I think almost anything now can be learned through YouTube.
Mhm.
And this was before ChatGPT was even around. Now you got ChatGPT, you got
Right.
these other
Answer your
things you could use
questions.
as well
Right.
too. But really, even
What
now, if I have a question, YouTube is where I go.
you have the Experience Media Studios with Kevin,
Hmm.
and you guys are shooting resorts. You're shooting like experiences that places offer a lot of travel,
Yeah,
get to go to cool places.
for
People
sure.
don't understand that that's a lot of work as well. But then you
Definitely.
do a lot of music festival stuff now
Mhm.
as well. So there's I imagine a different approach because you're dealing in a way with clients on both sides. Because I've worked for a brand on the client side where you're like briefing someone. Do you like a really tight creative brief? Do you want tons of freedom? How do you approach this stuff? So let's say you're shooting brand related stuff. You have a brief. Okay, we want to capture this experience. I mean,
Mhm.
you can make up an example, but you've been to Hawaii and places like
Mhm.
that. How does that differ than going to a music festival and like capturing something that's probably very social
Yeah.
oriented?
It's like a fine line that sometimes the most difficult clients can sometimes be the ones that also give you the most freedom. Like I hate being kind of confined to a box, but I also like when the expectations are set and the client
Right.
knows, like, at least is able. There's been times where there's like, yeah, just do your thing, and I'm like, do my thing. Like
Yeah.
they're like, no, you got it. And then I turn in what I think my thing is, and they have a million revisions. And I'm like, see, you could have saved us both a lot of time here if you just gave me a
Yeah.
little bit of guidance. But at the same time, I also dislike, and I've been in situations where clients, you stick to this very specific shot list, and there is no creative
Mm.
freedom, and that makes it a little bit less fun, because it just feels more like you're just following a checklist.
Right. Right. Right.
Um, and so I think it's kind of this fine line between, it's like a balancing act of having a good amount of both. I think the best clients are the ones that know what they want. This isn't their first production. They
Mm.
know what's worked for them in the past, and they can give strong guidance, but at the same time, they want it to feel like me, I guess in this case. They want it to feel like, oh, Tommy Roark made that, and kind of have my flair or my
Hmm.
touch added to it. And I feel like those clients that I work with, those are the ones where I find the most success because I feel like I know what they want, but I also know like I look at it and say, okay, where can I get creative on this in a
Hmm.
tasteful way? Um,
Yeah, because they
but each
hired you for a reason, right? I mean, they saw
exactly
your work and they want that flair, that signature, I guess, that you're
right.
talking about, which is what you're trying to establish in a way while also pleasing clients. So it's a
Exactly. So
tricky
it's a
balance.
tricky balance, and but I find that the clients where it is a let's say we call it half and half, half
Mm,
creative freedom, half kind of guidelines or shot lists or just ideas on what they would like because
yeah,
there have been times where I've been given a complete freedom and I almost, I appreciate that, but I almost don't like that because there's a chance that I do exactly what I want and I get it totally. Everyone's got their own mindset of what they're looking for. And if you can't
yeah,
articulate that and verbalize that, you're kind of just leaving it, okay, whatever you get here is what you get.
yep,
And it can just set myself up for a lot of revisions or just a rough time if I don't have
yeah,
any guidance. But I think that's something that all creatives look for when working with a company or a brand. It's cool when we get to kind of make some calls on our own. But at the same time, like don't let us, we're all these caffeine fueled, just like late night thinkers and stuff. Don't give us too much free time to just kind of go crazy, or else you're gonna get some really wild products.
right. Which doesn't accomplish what the brand wants to do from a
Exactly.
business standpoint, right?
Exactly.
So tell me some of the cooler shots you've been on for Experience Media Studios,
Yeah.
because this is what you got into it for, right? Travel the world, you
Yeah.
said, do what you love to do. Any sort of hairball stories that got a little sideways?
So we've been all over, spent a lot of time in Hawaii. I've had uh, some, I want to say near death, but I've had some pretty fun. I'm in a lot of trouble right now. It's like the Ralph Wiggum from The Simpsons, like, haha, I'm in danger meme I see sometimes on the internet. That was me swimming out at like Pipeline Beach on Oahu
Oh, okay.
with a water housing and a camera or something, trying to get shots and surfing and realizing like, oh yeah, these waves, there's a reason the surfers and the surf filmers are wearing helmets to go swimming in the water here because you're in the
They
wrong
found you.
spot. You
Yeah.
get your skull cracked open or,
Yeah.
so there was definitely moments out there where I was in some danger filming. There was a time I was with one of my close partners I work with, my buddy Cole, Cole Parker. He and I were doing a job with the U.S. Coast Guard. It was like a live water rescue, like a mock one, kind of
Yeah.
showing how something works. And they needed someone to go from the boat we were in up into this helicopter. And the director that hired us, he was originally supposed to do it, but he got so seasick. They were like, all right, they're going to lower down the shopping cart basket. We need one of you with your equipment to get into that shopping cart basket. I will mention, it was a rough day at sea. It was raining. It was windy. They picked a rough day to do this. And
Hmm.
I'm pretty good on boats. But Cole got pretty seasick. The director got everyone else was pretty seasick. And we had to get this shot. We needed to get it fast where they needed me to get from the boat up, call it, I don't know, 60, 80 feet in the air to this
Yeah.
helicopter that was hanging above us. And
Wow.
they lowered down this mini shopping cart basket and they were like, get in and we're going to raise you up and you're going to get out there. We're going to hook you in. You're going to lean out the door and get the shot. And it all kind of happened. It wasn't like I was preparing for this. It was like in the moment, like, Tommy, we need you to do this. And I was like, all right, let's do it. I feel like
No
something helps
time to
me.
think. That's
No time to think. And next thing you know, I'm spinning around in the air with my camera. I'm just like, all right, we're getting raised up. And I think for me, one of the things that helps me, but also puts me in this danger is when I'm trying to get a particular shot and I'm really feeling motivated, like, oh, this is going to look really good. My sense of fear and danger goes out the window. And it's more
Mhm.
like, okay, like I got to get this. And
Right.
however I get it, I get it. My sense of what's realistic in terms of, oh, is that dangerous or not, goes out
Yeah.
the window when filming.
You're gonna want to watch that as you get older.
Absolutely. I'm like a cat. And I think I've used maybe 5 out of those
Right.
9 lives so far. And I'm only 27. So those last 4, I got to
Yeah.
stretch out a lot further
You're
now.
gonna run out at some point.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
let's talk about something maybe, well, maybe it is as dangerous, but the music festival stuff. This is where you have been spending a lot of time at these big music festivals filming. You're doing drone stuff. You're probably spending a lot of late nights. How the hell did you get into filming music festivals? What is that like behind the scenes? Is it just working amidst madness, or how does it all go down?
Madness is a good way to put it, man. It's
Well, start with that. How'd you find your way into filming music festivals,
you
or
know,
is it relationship with DJs festivals?
yeah.
How does it work?
I I grew up a big fan of dance music and EDM music. I feel like I kind of got into it what they like to call the golden era in that time would be like 20 call it 2010 to 2015. So that was like middle school, high school where it was really new and it was fresh and it
Hmm.
was uplifting and exciting. And I kind of got into it then. And so I've been a fan of the music for a long time. And then I think some of the earliest creators I followed on Instagram were, um, nightlife, we'll call them nightlife and concert
Right.
photographers and videographers. Because it was just they were getting to shoot artists that I personally listened to. I'm like,
Right.
oh,
Okay.
that live show must have been so fun to get to capture that. Will also be in there, right? And
Right.
I would just certain guys that I followed. I'm like, I want to be like this guy someday. So then I kind of just met some people and had some mentors. Um, Two of my mentors, Drew and Sam, when I first got into it, they both worked in the space and kind of just gave me some advice and helped me kind of get started, whether it was to introduce me to some people that I got some early gigs with or whatnot, but kind of just got my foot in. And it's like a club. And once you're in, literally, you're shooting in a club, but it's
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
like a social club. But once you're in, you can kind of grow from there. And it's a lot of networking. And just it took years of meeting the right people, whether they're in terms of artist management or promoters or artists themselves. I've had a lot of random encounters, like just being in the right place at the right time that has helped
Okay.
me when it comes to that space.
So
And so,
take me inside like a one. I don't know.
yeah,
So you spend like a weekend, or do you spend a night, and then like what's the prep?
the prep is make sure you get
Sleep.
enough sleep the night before because you're
Yeah.
not going to get enough sleep the next night. So like for a good example, we'll talk about doing Coachella this year.
Okay.
It was my first time getting to shoot Coachella, and that was definitely a bucket list one. Festival I'd never been to. Everyone knows what Coachella is, but I'd never been, let alone had the got the pass to shoot. But a friend Alex, put me in touch with another woman who's now a great friend, Kenzie, and her company Twin Flame Productions. They do a lot of the artist relations for Coachella, specifically for the Do Lab stage, and they were just looking to bring some media in, and she was like, "Yeah, you and if you need to bring some of your team with you, like go for it." And so, um, for that, we were going out into Palm Springs. It was hot, it was dusty, and we were camping. I think
Yeah.
camping was the most interesting thing 'cause we were on site for, I think, 4
Okay.
days, 3 nights.
So you got to lug gear around everything. Like you got to
Yep,
watch
we
your
bring
gear,
out
all that
yep,
stuff.
the Pelican cases with all the equipment, and we didn't really have a place to, like, charge batteries, so we're
Okay.
charging batteries, like, on the grass, hoping we don't start a fire in a dry place like Palm
Right.
Springs. Just trying to do all that. And the hours are long. Like, at a festival, it starts, when the first act goes on at 1, you're probably already on site, like ready to go, call it 2 hours before that. And the last act is probably done at 1 a.m. That's a
Hmm.
full 12 hours later, call it 16 hours a day that you were just physically on site filming. And then it's like
Right.
you're transferring footage, you're dropping SD cards, you're plugging things into charge for the next night. We maybe got 5 hours of sleep each night because we were also having some fun. You know what I mean? There was a lot to
Yep.
do, and the people that work in those settings, whether they're media or not, the production or their artist teams, they're all kind of partying. So there was a lot of fun stuff to do.
Hmm.
But it was just a sprint. I felt like each day it was like we were running from whether stage to stage or different artists to
Okay.
this to that. You forget something back at the trailer. That's a 30-minute walk that way. You're like, all right, I got to go back there and get one simple battery or SD or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And I like to wear this black. You gotta wear all black, so you just cook in the sun.
Right.
Um, I like to wear this black like fisherman's vest with all these little pockets that I keep things in. That has been my saving grace many times. Just it keeps everything I need on me.
Yep.
And then you usually have this big camera set up where you have your gimbal, your camera. your monopods. You could get above the crowd for shots and stuff like that. Your monitor, all those things. So it's a pretty heavy rig setup. So your shoulders get a good workout. And I had just had like a minor shoulder surgery maybe 2 weeks before Coachella on the
Perfect.
shoulder. And so that was great for the stitches. That was a really like,
Yeah.
my surgeon, when I went back to get the stitches removed, he was like, you've been using the shoulder a lot? I'm like, no,
Yes.
really, just been resting,
16 hours a day,
but
in fact. Yeah.
yeah, but it was a
So
lot of fun.
how many angles do you like? Let's say angles. I sound like an
Yeah.
amateur. Are you like
Yeah.
on stage for some of it? You're in the crowd for some of it. Are you like running all around? There's like there's
Yeah.
a brief to, and how many hours do you shoot that wind up in an edit?
I think for the 60-second recap video that we made, we probably cut down the selects folder to about a terabyte. So call it 3 to 4 terabytes of just raw everything. Cut that
Okay.
down to about a terabyte of selects, and then from there, cut that into 60 seconds. And that final export, when you export that from Final Cut, it's maybe 1.5 gigabytes.
So
So
hours
just
of
cutting.
footage to
Yes,
make
hours
a
and
minute.
hours. Exactly. And it's just like refining like your footage and looking through the selects to figure out what's best, going from there.
Some of the shots you get are crazy, like
Hmm.
with a
Yeah.
say a DJ or something, and then the backdrop is just incredible.
Yeah. No,
Some of the
there's
still
it's
photos you have on your Instagram, and the crowd
right.
just makes it, right? The lighting.
The
Um,
energy, the lighting, the crowd, the stage design, the special effects, whether it's pyro or CO2 or fireworks or whatever's happening. I feel like I've been doing enough shows now where I kind of have it down to like, I kind of know when sometimes they'll give you the cues. Hey, we're going to do fireworks on this song and this song, but a lot of
okay.
times they don't. And most of the time at least for me, they don't. And I feel like I have a good science down like, in my head of like, okay, last 2 songs, there's been no effects. Therefore, there should be one here. Like you kind of just get that. At least I do. I kind of like, all right, it's been long enough now where I got a feeling they're going to use something here, and then I'll get my camera ready. And there's a lot of times where I'm like getting ready. I'm like, okay, there should be. Let me guess. There should be some flames here. Okay, no flames. Let's try again in
Yeah,
minute or two when the next song
right.
plays. Right. Um,
But you listen
but
to the music too, so that probably helps you. Like you kind of get a feel for
absolutely.
when there are going to be impactful moments, etc. Right?
It's always more helpful when you're getting to shoot an artist whose music you know a little bit of. I've been in situations where I didn't know any of this artist's catalog,
Yeah.
and it's cool because you discover a lot of music that way. But it's always easier, I think, to plan things out kind of in your head of like, okay, this is kind of the style, this is kind of the way they do things. Like I know these songs, these tracks. Here's how I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
Another thing that's really popular now at a lot of these shows, festivals, is they like multicam. So pretty much you kind of have a bunch of different camera angles. Let's say someone's behind the artist. So you mount a camera on the DJ booth. You
Hmm.
have one at the front of house, which is kind of behind the crowd. You have someone roaming in the crowd, blah, blah, blah. You have a drone. Uh, Syncing up all of those angles in a multicam. What you do after is you're pretty much, the goal of multicam is to pretty much show the exact show as it cuts from camera to camera. So syncing them all up timing wise. You have an internal recorder that you would have to sync up the music to it, and then just showing the full performance cut from different angle to angle to angle for the full, say, 60, 90 minutes, sometimes longer. Um,
Wow,
those are
that's a
really
ton
popular
of
right
work. Yeah.
now. It is.
Ton of prep work, and then
We recently did a 20 angle multicam with a 15-person team for an artist in LA. And that was a ton of prep work, a ton of post production work. And then obviously, if anything goes wrong mid show, you got to, there were these
mhm.
cages. They had like dancers, kind of like these dancers in cages and stuff. It was crazy, but it got overrun by the crowd. Like they climbed up onto
Oh
this
wow,
like thing, and we had cameras mounted on there. And someone sent a photo in our production chat, like, "Hey guys, I think there's camera," and I was just like, "Oh shit, I need to get in there and I need to get those cameras now."
right?
And like running in there
Thousands of
because
dollars going down the drain.
security was
Yeah.
completely useless in this case. And I just ran in there and I'm like shoving people out of the way. And one of my other guys came with me, Frankie. Shout out to Frankie if he happens to see this. It was his camera we had mounted, and so I could tell being in that. If I was in his position, I'd
Right,
be like, "Oh, they're not taking my stuff. I'm getting
right.
that thing." And so he was already there when I got there, and I'm like, "Frank, let's get out of here. Let's get that camera and get out." And so things happen sometimes,
Yeah.
but multicam's really in right now. So we shoot a lot of that. I don't love doing it. It's definitely like I've gotten a lot of gigs for it, but it's I feel like there's a lot of things where things can go wrong that are out of your control,
Yeah.
and there's really no room for error.
I would
Um,
imagine it's a bit like shooting a sport actually, because there's crowd, the artists are doing, there's action, like you said, with
yep.
pyrotechnics, the lighting, everything. I mean, I've seen like at a music festival I went to in when I lived in Melbourne, Australia. They have one at Giant Horse Track, like
Hmm.
sort of a fairgrounds almost. And I went to see some big killers were playing, Chili Peppers, etc. This is several years back, and there's an EDM tent, and I walked through it just to check it out. It's like a different world inside. Like it's middle of the afternoon in the summertime, and it was like nighttime in there. Like you didn't even know.
Yeah. There's
So I
there
can imagine what it must be like to try and capture that, just the light and everything.
for anyone here that's watching this, if that has been to Coachella, the Yuma tent is famously known at Coachella for just being a great, great spot. See a lot of cool artists, but it is so dark in there. It's like you're in a club, but you
Okay.
could be in there at 2 p.m. or whatever.
Mhm.
And trying to film sets in there was really challenging because I'm just like it's I don't know if you ever seen the movie Blade. It kind of feels like the opening scene from Blade in there with
Okay.
just techno music blasting. And I think in Blade one, it was like all these vampires at a party. It's essentially the same thing, you know. I
I
can't verify if they're actual vampires, but certain people definitely got that look in their eyes, like they have no idea what's going on. They could drink some blood. Yeah.
I recently watched the Avicii documentary on Netflix. I'm
Yeah.
Tim. It's called.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
sad,
Excellent.
fascinating. I don't know that world, so I mean, he was like a savant. It was pretty cool to see his
Yeah.
story. It's sad also to see um sort of his path, but
Of course.
it gives you like a real respect, one for the music if you don't know it that well, like myself,
Yeah.
and then just hearing you talk about it, I'm thinking back to watching that documentary, which I really recommend to people because I thought it was really well done, even if you don't
Great
know him
doc.
or that scene. But the stuff he was doing was just crazy. Some of the show, like in
Yeah.
Ibiza and places, like the crowds, it's
It's
incredible.
huge crowds and the touring schedule is so aggressive. I think
Mhm.
there was a point he was doing 350 shows a year or some number close to that, you know? There's
Yeah,
365 days in a year. It was almost like he was doing a show every day. And oftentimes you're going city to city, country to country. The travel that
yeah,
comes along with touring, it's not for the weak.
right,
It's really aggressive. I've done a little bit of touring. I haven't done any like long-term touring. It hasn't really been something that,
right.
because
Where you
for the
follow an artist for, yeah,
yeah, you're with them for a couple
mm,
months. It's a huge commitment. Um, and it's definitely exciting. It's a cool experience. And I've done a little bit of it, but it's your full-time job. Like I would have to
yeah,
drop all my other clients and let go of any other work I have just to focus on this. And I love shooting music, but I consider it just a segment of what I do, like just
yeah.
part of the overall thing. I will go from one week, I could shoot, a festival, and then 2 days later, I could be shooting like a dental corporate conference. You know what I mean? And the
It's
dental
good.
corporate conference pays more. It's just like
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
there's, it's less exciting.
Right.
No offense to the dentists that could be watching, but
Yeah.
it's I have
I
a
think
lot of
they would probably admit that.
yeah, like a wide variety of work that I do and that we do at EM Studios. Um, and so the touring stuff, I'm like, that would be. I got some offers and some that I really was like, wow, I was really considering. But it also, like, just the travel that comes with this job in general. Like, I
Yeah.
travel enough as is. If I was touring, like,
Mhm.
man, I don't know
No, you're part of the show.
what
It's,
yeah, I don't know,
yeah.
like, I think just it's like, you really gotta have your life together to be able to, sleep at normal hours, eat
Mhm.
somewhat healthy, get to the gym,
Yeah.
maintain any relationship. It's when you're just on the go like that,
Yeah.
it's hard. I definitely think even for me, who's not touring, but I do bounce around the country and the world a lot for different jobs, um, it can be hard to maintain routine for sure.
Yeah, I can imagine that that's gotta be hard to sort of compartmentalize your life from that energy to, like, going to do your groceries, even if you're
Yeah,
not on stage, but being
it's
around it.
weird. It's weird,
Um,
you'll be in a setting or a scene where you're like, "That was crazy," and then, as soon as it's over, you kinda once that kinda high wears off of like, "Oh, that was really cool, we just got to do that," then the next day, I'm just like, "I don't wanna be around anyone. I
yeah,
wanna have this day completely to myself. I don't wanna
yeah,
talk to anyone. I don't want anyone vying for my time or attention." Like, I want to do nothing. I feel
Yeah.
like I kind of fluctuate from when I'm at work. A lot of times I'm around a lot of people. My social battery has to be on.
Hmm.
To when sometimes I'm home, I'm like, I don't want to do anything today, or I don't want
Right.
anyone to bother me.
Yeah. You want to have
It's kind
just
of
a
like
regular routine in
yes,
some
it's
way.
kind of like a very stark contrast between um, like the highs of some of these festivals and just being able to capture that. And it's so much fun, but it's exhausting. Where then the next week, I'm like, I don't want to do anything.
Yeah.
I just want to chill.
So speaking of that, I want to let you go here, but I know that one of the things that keeps you grounded, I
Hmm.
see it on your social media. You have a cool relationship with your brother. Is younger brother?
Yeah, my younger brother.
Younger brother. So you're
Yeah,
playing some golf with him in the next couple days. Tell me about
yeah,
that, or just family in general that keeps you kind
yeah.
of grounded and those come down from
A-
those music festival highs.
Absolutely. I think one of my biggest fans and supporters is my younger brother Nick. Him and I talk every single day, um, and he's he really you could tell he really finds the camera stuff I do really interesting.
Hmm.
Um, I think you mentioned we're gonna play some golf in a bit. A fun thing about Nick is Nick has Down syndrome and loves to drive the golf cart. Doesn't have his license, but loves to drive the golf cart.
Okay. Oh
And
boy.
he we've had some good ones where we've ended up in a few places we shouldn't be, whether it's we hit a tree or we go over a hill too fast or end up in a pond or something. We've
In a
had a lot of
pond.
fun.
Nice, Nick.
Yes, it's an all-terrain vehicle, I think, as you would say.
For him,
The golf
yeah.
cart,
Okay.
yeah, it's an all-terrain vehicle. It can go wherever, but
Water is not a terrain.
yeah,
That's not.
no, we've we have a lot of fun while I'm home. He's definitely someone that motivates me. Having a brother with a disability, and knowing that as I get older and he gets older, I really want to succeed in my career, so I can be there for him and anything that he may need as he gets older. Any
Okay.
support or just help I could provide him. It's definitely kind of what keeps my butt moving. Kind of when
Yeah.
I'm feeling lazy or unmotivated, I'm just like, well, hey man, like you got someone that really does look up to you and admire what you do, and you're not just doing this for yourself, like, you're doing this for him because you want to put yourself on a path of success where there may come a day where him and I become more than bridge brothers, maybe become roommates, and I
Right.
gotta, help him out with some stuff. And
Yeah.
that's just part of, having a brother with disability. And I'm really, really blessed to have someone that kind of motivates me.
Okay. Last question. Any, let's say, career advice for getting into things you really are passionate about because you are
For
passionate
sure.
about what you do.
No, I appreciate that. I definitely feel that way. And I'd say the number one thing for me and for people that I see succeeding and are well respected in the industry is to leave your ego at the door. There's always going to be people that are better than you, and that's okay. It's not a competition. In the creative world, it's just kind of about expressing or showing what you want to show and telling those stories yourself. And just like, don't be afraid to fail. Like, I have failed so many times in my career. I failed in ways that haven't hurt me at all. I failed in ways that have cost me tens of thousands of dollars. And I prefer to avoid those ones.
Right.
But in most cases, it's they use the phrase a minor setback for a major comeback. I've learned the most from those setbacks where I have failed,
Mhm.
and it's positioned me and motivated me to improve things, change things, do things better, and put myself in a better position to succeed.
Thank you, man. And tell me
Yeah, thank you,
where people
Tim.
can find you on Instagram.
You could see both my work individually at Visuals by Tommy on Instagram,
Yep.
and then you could see both my work and my team's work at emstudios.co. .com was too expensive to get a URL, so we had to go with .co. Man, I don't know
Okay.
how. Just yeah,
It's yours.
keep it
You own
simple.
it.
It's
You own it.
ours. We own that. But thank you so much for having me, Tim. This has been a pleasure. It's always good catching up with you, man.
Yeah, you too. I appreciate the time, man. It's really inspiring for me to see someone like yourself doing what you like to do. It's a good reminder as I get
Appreciate
on
that,
in
man.
my
I'm lucky to
career
have
too.
guys like
So
you in my corner, that I can just talk to. Not want to say, old guys, but guys that
thanks.
got a little more experience than me that I can always ask
Appreciate that.
questions to, and appreciate you always being a mentor to me as well.
Oh, please. My pleasure. Thanks, man.
Awesome.
Appreciate it. Okay, my thanks to Tommy Roark. check him out online and give him a follow, and check out Experience Media Studios as well. And if you see Tommy filming at a music festival, leave his camera gear alone, folks. Trampling all over a camera is not cool at all. My thanks to all of you for listening. If you enjoyed this conversation, please like, subscribe, share the podcast. And if you need brand marketing work or content development or strategy work, check out twinthievesmedia.com. You can also find my Aussie travel guide on Amazon.com. The book is called Yank Down Under, a drink and a look around Australia. Thank you for listening. Take care.